So pour it in, right?
Yep, just pour it in. And you can see how that foam's kind of starting to bubble up and get really soaked. So we want it to stay really wet because what this foam does is it's able to suck a ton of water up. So it keeps pulling the fluid out of that hole. So it's really good at kind of maintaining these wounds. Okay.
Is that pad medicated or is it?
It's not medicated, no, but it's just good. It literally sucks pus out of wounds. It's awesome stuff. So these are really good things to have around. If you can find them on Amazon, sometimes you can search that hydrophilic foam and you can find them on Amazon, but I'll leave you a few here anyways.
Okay.
Okay, and then you're gonna need to find some white stretchy gauze like this, okay?
Yes.
Okay, it's got a lot of stretch to it.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is come around here, find our wound, place this right over the top of it.
Yes.
And so see how I have the foam on there and then I left the plastic on the outside, okay? So the plastic is going to keep all of that fluid from soaking into the bandage and keep it on his wound so his wound stays nice and wet. And then you'll just wrap this
Around his joint.
Yep, just to hold this on in place.
Okay.
And then you can kind of see around the back here that I figure eight up and over the point of his hock just a tiny bit to keep it from slipping down.
Okay.
Okay. So that'll kind of stick to itself.
Figure 8, Maddie.
Yes, I remember.
All right. So now we're going to grab our cottons and some of this gauze that has no stretch to it. So this is what we get all of our
bunch of
tension.
this.
You have a bunch of this, good.
Yes.
And then these, you can either use these cottons that are just throwaway, or if you have standing wraps that are like the washable ones.
Yes, I have those.
You can use those. Yep, you can use those. I just carried these ones on my truck so that I can throw them away. But I'm glad to hear that you have standing wraps because everybody.
Would polo wraps work too? Like throwaway polo wraps?
So the throwaway ones are the washable ones.
Okay.
So the washable ones you can use. I just want you to find the ones that that are not fleece. They're the ones that are more like a cotton type material that again doesn't have stretch, because if it has stretch, then you're not going to get quite as much tension when you do your bandage. So you'll start your lower one right about the coronary band, okay?
Okay.
So the other important thing to note when you're placing a bandage, and this goes for anything, not just this bandage, when you're doing your standing wraps, when you're doing your polos, always wrap in the same direction. So I always wrap from the inside to the outside and from the front to the back. And so if you do that with all of your layers, then all of your layers are going in the same direction, and you're never gonna have any spots that have too much tension, where that's where you can cause bandage bows. Have you ever heard of a bandage bow before?
I think so.
Where you can bow a tendon by putting a bandage on. So if you follow that simple rule, and one other simple rule, which is that you always overlap your upper row by 50%. So every time I go down, I am overlapping by about 50%. So if I were to do this, then I'd have spots that didn't have as much tension, or I'd have spots that have more tension. And again, that's how you're gonna cause your bandage bows. So I go down about 50% of the way every time. And then I always leave a little bit of cotton at the bottom and a little bit of cotton at the top, so I don't have this stuff that's really tight directly on the skin. Because again, you can make little strictures that way. So I always pull nice and tight around the front, and then I kind of roll around the back. Pull tight around the front and roll around the back. So again, this is how I do every single bandage.
Yeah. Now,
So-
you don't want it like super, super tight, just snug but not tight?
So snug, but not super tight. So I want you to stick your finger kind of right in here and feel that.
Here?
Yep.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Sorry if I pinched you
No,
just there.
no, you're fine.
So it's kind of like a girth.
Yep, yep.
You can stick your finger in there if you can pull it out.
And people say you should be able to bounce a quarter off of a bandage, or when you flick it, it sounds hollow. So hear that?
Yes.
So if you weren't tight enough, it wouldn't make that kind of bouncy sound. And then you want it to be loose enough that you can still fit at least one finger in.
Now, Maddie, should you show her that thing you're talking about so you make sure you use the right thing?
Hang on,
Okay.
after.
The polos?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so this one is all fine and dandy. That's easy. Most people can do that just fine. Don't tell me your knees hurt already. You're too young. So the upper one is where you'll have a little bit more struggle, okay? So you'll take your same cotton, it has a bit of a hairball, and you're gonna overlap them by about 4 inches, okay?
Yes.
And so keep in mind that I'm doing these the exact same way, from the inside to the outside and from the front to the back. So my layers are going in the same direction. okay?
Yes.
And so I always kind of start up at the top because I find that just to be a little bit easier for me to manage. Okay? And then this is where it gets a little bit more challenging, is around the point of the hock. So you're not really able to overlap it by 50%. So come around the side here so you can see how this goes. So see how that one's like kind of like that. This one's kind of like this. I'm gonna do another one that's kind of right in the middle. So you do kind of have to just figure eight around the hock and figure out the best way for it to lie, okay?
Okay.
So whatever you can do to have nice, good, even tension.
Now, do you want me to brush after I take off the, like, brush the nastiness?
Yeah, you
around
can
it?
totally do that, yeah. If it were summertime, I'd say you could hose it off, but
Ain't summertime.
it's not quite summertime, is it? But yeah, you can totally brush it.
If only had those expensive solariums.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that is your primary layer there.
All great news. Raleigh has significantly reduced. We're doing a training video.
I also have a bunch of this stuff as well.
So if you're gonna use like more like polo wrap or standing wrap type things, then you don't have to use this. You can just put the polo wrap on and that's totally fine. But again, this is just what I carry on my truck so that I don't leave stuff at people's houses.
You should have seen his face after the oral medication.
I told you it was nasty.
He did not like that one bit. Oh, he raised his teeth for a good 5 minutes, then he said,
Yep, and then he threw his head up and he wouldn't let me pet him.
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know what that was, and I don't want it ever again.
He's kind of still traumatized by it when I do this. He used to love that.
So we are going to keep doing the oral medication. So instead of doing it twice a day, though, we're gonna bump him down to once a day,
Okay.
and that's going to be kind of our really big telling period. Is because again, that's the pain medication. So as long as he stays fairly comfortable and isn't lame walking on it, when we kind of bump that down, I'll feel much better. We can all sleep at night.
I'm gonna take
And all you have to do, is just bandage where your gauze was.
Yep, exactly. So this is more of just a holding layer for that gauze.
And no pulling, just wrapping.
Yep, I have like decent tension on this, but I'm not yanking on it like I am on that on the other gauze, because this again isn't, most of your tension is coming from that non-stretchy gauze. This is just stretchy, so it's gonna stretch out no matter what anyways. Okay, then last but not least.
Maddie will watch this video 4 or 5 times.
That's okay, it's good.
That was a great idea.
Adam,
to
do you
that.
have the
Yes, sir. Get out of the way.
Okay, and then this is just a really sticky tape
Okay.
called Elasticon.
No,
And
I do
so-
not have that.
Okay,
So.
I can get you a couple rolls of this as well. So this, you'll just do a little layer at the top and a little layer at the bottom, and it helps keep it from slipping down on you.
No pulling, just wrapping.
Just
right?
wrapping around, yep. It's
How many
cold,
wraps?
so it's, I usually do about 2.
Okay.
It's not super sticky today because the adhesive is frozen, but normally it's very sticky. And then I do 1 wrap around the bottom, and that helps keep shavings from getting packed up in there. And that's okay, you just do like 1.
And it's fine if it gets a little bit on the hoof.
Yeah, oh yes, totally fine. Yep. I prefer it to be a little bit on the hoof. Okay.
And we're gonna stall him.
And we're gonna keep him stalled until we're done bandaging. So now I'm gonna turn you guys loose.